Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News, where the headlines hit harder than a possum on moonshine, and the national mood swings around like a screen door in a tornado. Lord help us. This week America's been run through a blender, set to puree, and poured out over a hot political skillet like country-fried chaos. So grab a plate, grab a fork, and maybe grab a helmet. Segment 1. DHS shutdown, TSA meltdown, and the airport Hunger Games. So the Department of Homeland Security ain't got funding, TSA's working for free like interns at a failing startup, and Congress is treating the whole situation like it's optional homework. TSA says if they miss a paycheck on February 28th and then a whole one on March 14th, folks gon' start calling out. Buddy, calling out? Down here we call that what it is, not showing up because you ain't paying me. Airports are about to turn into Black Friday at Walmart, but with fewer rules and more confiscated jars of peanut butter. They say even small staffing shortages could cause massive delays. That's cute. My cousin Rick skipped one Tuesday shift at the chicken plant, and the whole conveyor line caught fire. If that's any indicator, missing TSA agents ain't just delays. That's airplanes playing musical chairs with runways. And the shutdown started because Democrats want more oversight on Trump's immigration agents after they shot 2 U.S. citizens in Minneapolis. Which honestly sounds like the kind of situation that should require oversight. But Washington's treating it like a debate over how many pickles go on a sandwich. Meanwhile, airlines are panicking because spring break is coming. Imagine millions of college kids trying to fly to Miami while only one TSA agent is left upright, whispering, "Ma'am, please take off your shoes," before passing out like a goat. This ain't Homeland Security. It's Homeland probably gonna need a miracle. Segment 2. U.S.-Russia secret talks, Munich meltdown, and the double Dutch diplomacy circus. Now let's hop across the ocean where Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with Sergei Diplomacy but make it menacing Lavrov in Saudi Arabia. They were discussing Ukraine without Ukraine, Europe, or basically anybody else. That's right. They made a whole conflict negotiation guest list and forgot to invite the countries involved. It's like planning a wedding, but the bride finds out on CNN. This is America's new foreign policy strategy, realpolitik, which is French for, "Look, we're tired. Can we just wrap this up and go home?" Europe found out at the Munich Security Conference, where the room was vibrating like an over-caffeinated hummingbird. Secretary Rubio gave a nice speech about how the U.S. will always be a child of Europe. Very poetic. But then the Democratic delegation got up there like, "Actually, Europe, your kid's been hanging out with the wrong crowd, smoking freedom fries, and setting NATO on fire." The message breakdown was wild. Rubio says, "We're family." Democrats say, "We're not sure who this man is." Senator Graham's crew says, "We still love you, please don't leave us." And Europe says, "We are terrified." It was like watching 3 divorced parents show up to the same school play, each claiming custody of the audience. Meanwhile, Trump's sending a second aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, to the Middle East to stare down Iran. You know it's serious when America's sending floating cities to encourage diplomacy. My redneck brain hears 2 supercarriers in a tiny sea and thinks, boy, that's how you accidentally start a water-based Fast and Furious movie. This whole foreign policy moment is held together by duct tape, prayer, and the sheer hope that nobody sneezes near the Strait of Hormuz. Segment 3. Inflation cooling, Wall Street panicking, robots eating everyone's jobs. Back at home, inflation cooled to 2.4%, and the financial world is calmer than a cat after a rotisserie chicken. The Fed is ready to cut rates. Kevin Warsh is revving the engine like a teenager who just got the keys. But Wall Street? Wall Street is nervous. The tech sector's acting like someone yelled, "AI is coming for your job," and half the NASDAQ fainted. Investors are punishing companies that look AI vulnerable, which is hilarious because that's basically everyone except waffle makers. Meanwhile, utilities, real estate, and healthcare stocks are thriving, which means America's future economy is flip a light switch, rent an apartment, and desperately go to the doctor because you've been stressing about AI for 6 months. Retail earnings are giving mixed vibes. Walmart is out here flexing with $1 trillion market cap energy, while Lazy Boy got slapped so hard their recliners nearly folded themselves. Wingstop, bless their delicious lemon pepper hearts, came out swinging with huge earnings. Apparently, chicken wings are the last stable currency in America. Then Bayer, yes, the Roundup people, wants to settle lawsuits for $7.25 billion over 21 years. That's not a settlement. That's a mortgage on corporate regret. We've basically entered an economy where everything's calm, everything's chaotic, and everything depends on whether Silicon Valley spent too much money trying to teach a robot how to fold laundry. Segment 4. Zuckerberg in court, DOJ in revenge mode, and Bondi in the Congressional Thunderdome. Mark Zuckerberg showed up in a Los Angeles courtroom testifying about whether Instagram algorithms harmed a young girl. Let me tell you, watching Zuckerberg testify is like watching an animatronic gerbil programmed to say, "We take this very seriously," every 12 seconds. If Meta loses this trial, every social media company may have to redesign their entire business model. And by entire business model, I mean that big addictive scroll that keeps us doom-staring into phones at 2 a.m. Meanwhile, the DOJ is issuing subpoenas about the 2016 Russia investigation, which is the political version of digging up old text messages just to start a brand new argument. And Attorney General Pam Bondi had a 5-hour shouting match in Congress about the Epstein files. She said she won't get in the gutter, which is funny because that hearing lived in the gutter, built a summer home in the gutter, and planted tomatoes there. New emails say Epstein was growing toxic plants. At this point, Epstein's life story has more plot twists than a telenovela written by a gremlin. This entire legal landscape isn't just messy, it's a possum fight in a glitter factory level of chaotic. Segment 5. NASA's Artemis test, the Antarctic shark surprise, and the redneck deep science hour. NASA's wet dress rehearsal is finally rolling again after they fixed a huge hydrogen leak. They're loading 700,000 gallons of cryogenic rocket juice, which is basically the universe saying, "Are y'all sure about this?" This test is crucial because America's racing China to the moon. Not symbolically, like actually racing them. Like two teenagers drag racing lawnmowers at 1 a.m. behind a Waffle House. Then there's the Antarctic sleeper shark sighting. A massive 10 to 13 foot creature just vibing in water so cold it could freeze your taxes. Scientists thought sharks couldn't live there. So naturally the shark said, "Hold my fish guts." This shark is like the Florida man of marine biology. It does what it wants, and nobody knows why. Climate scientists say its presence signals shifting ecosystems. Redneck translation. Mother Nature is rearranging the furniture, and she's mad we didn't ask first. Between space rockets leaking hydrogen and sharks showing up in places they shouldn't, it feels like the universe is trying to whisper, "Hey, y'all good down there?" Segment 6. Avalanches, disasters, monkeys, and the Olympics being weird again. Over in the Sierra Nevada, an avalanche buried 9 people and injured several others. A tragic convergence of extreme weather and bad luck. Snow piled up like my uncle's gambling debt, and the mountains basically said, "Nope." Then FEMA declared a disaster area in Lake Traverse, and Arizona is getting blasted by winter storms like it's trying out for Minnesota. Meanwhile, in St. Louis, a group of vervet monkeys is running wild because apparently Missouri woke up and chose National Geographic but stressful. Police suspect an exotic pet trafficker abandoned them. I'm no detective, but when wild African monkeys suddenly appear in a Midwestern suburb, that's usually someone's side hustle gone sideways. And in the Olympics, Michaela Schifrin won another gold, which is great. But Sidney Crosby got injured after getting slammed into the boards like a human buffalo wing. Climate activists are using the games to talk about glaciers melting, which is probably necessary because the snow at this point is 80% artificial, like Instagram models but colder. And local businesses in Livigno aren't making money because the Olympics redirected all the tourists. Imagine living in paradise, the world shows up, and somehow you still make less cash. That's Olympic math. In conclusion, this week proved America can handle economic shocks, geopolitical chaos, weather disasters, foreign policy crisis, airport meltdown, exotic monkey escape, and Mark Zuckerberg speaking in public. All at the same time. If the nation had a back, it'd be thrown out. Thanks for tuning in to Poorly Educated Today in the News, where the headlines stay wild, the jokes stay questionable, and the country stays one energy drink away from greatness or disaster. We'll find out next episode.